Today I'm showing you how to make a lightened up version of Cracker Barrel's hash brown casserole, and don't worry, it's still just as delicious. And then we are going to make the ultimate breakfast for dinner. Breakfast for dinner is always a crowd pleaser in my house. Everyone loves it. I'm going to be washing up some fresh fruit, some blueberries and peaches. We're going to be making some delicious bacon in the oven and then some super creamy scrambled eggs. You're not going to want to miss this. Breakfast for dinner is something I often gravitate towards when I'm not sure what to make because I know that my whole family is going to love it. So we're going to start out with the hash brown casserole. I have a bag of shredded hash browns here. These are frozen, but we're going to defrost them a little bit in the microwave just so that they don't have to cook as long in the oven. So I'm just going to microwave these on regular power for 5 minutes. And here are the rest of the ingredients we'll need. The regular recipe calls for butter, but I am using the Brummel and Brown yogurt spread. It tastes just as good in the finished product and it has less than half the calories. I'm using a can of Campbell's cream of chicken soup, some light sour cream, and then you'll also need 8 ounces or 2 cups of shredded Colby cheese. So I'm going to start by putting my cream of chicken soup into a big bowl. I always like to mix the wet ingredients first when I make this hash brown casserole, just so I don't kind of mash up the potatoes as I'm mixing the wet ingredients in. Then I'm also going to add my sour cream. You could use the healthy request or low sodium or low fat cream of chicken soup if you wanted to for this recipe. I'm just using the regular because I'm using other light ingredients and this turned out perfect. I don't really think anyone could tell that I used lightened up ingredients and it had a lot less calories than the original. I poured in the melted Brummel and Brown spread, and then you do have to whisk quite a bit to get this combined. But once it's combined, go ahead and season it with some pepper. I love this new gravity fed pepper mill that I got from Temu. I'm also adding some onion powder in there. You can add chopped onion if you want to, but I prefer the onion powder in this recipe. And then I'm also going to season my potatoes with some kosher salt and just toss that a little bit before I put the wet mixture in. I would recommend not adding a ton of salt because you have the soup mix and also the cheese that's rather salty. So I probably add a little less than a teaspoon for the whole casserole, and this will make a 9x13 dish. You can definitely buy pre-shredded cheese, but if you want it to taste like Cracker Barrel's, you need shredded cheddar. So I went ahead and shredded it myself. And of course, my furry friends were right here to eat up the scraps for me. I know somebody commented the other day and said they hadn't seen Murphy in a while, so I thought I would show you guys the doggies for a little bit. And before someone asks me, yes, I did wash my hands before I continued on with the rest of the recipe. Okay, so one tip I have for you is to grate your cheese on waxed paper. It makes it so much easier to transfer your grated cheese into your bowl. And this box grater that I have actually has some larger grating holes on it, so it makes the cheese grating a little bit faster. I'll link that down below. I believe I got it on Amazon, just like I do almost all of my other kitchen tools. I added the creamy mixture into the potatoes, and then you just want to stir that until it all comes together. So at this point, it's ready to go into your pan. I'm using a 9x13 glass baking dish that I just sprayed with a little bit of nonstick cooking spray. Definitely recommend that because these ingredients do tend to stick to the sides of the pan once you have it all completed. And then I just like to use my spoon to kind of level out the casserole so that it bakes evenly. Now this step is optional, but I do like to crush up some potato chips and put them on the top of the casserole. You can use plain potato chips, but I had cheese potato chips, so I used those. And then I put this in the oven at 400 degrees, and this bakes for probably about 40 to 50 minutes. It just kind of depends how brown and crispy you want it on the edges. While that is starting, I'm going to go ahead and lay my bacon out on a baking sheet. When I am making breakfast for dinner or when I'm making a big breakfast, this is my favorite way to cook bacon because it also frees up some area on the stovetop for me to cook other things. I just have a big rimmed baking sheet here that I line with parchment paper, and then I just line up all my bacon on there and fit as many slices in as I can. And then I'll pop that in the oven along with the casserole. The bacon usually takes about 20 to 30 minutes. Make sure you keep an eye on it because it does go from not done to done to burnt very quickly. I'm also going to wash up my peaches. I got these peaches at Costco and they are so super ripe and delicious, super sweet. They taste like candy. And then I also had some blueberries, and so I thought it would be really good to make a fruit bowl on the side and have the blueberries and peaches combined. I'm also loving this fruit washing tub that I got from Temu as well. Sometimes peaches can be a little hard to get the pit out, and actually I just realized that I've been calling these peaches and they're actually yellow nectarines, so my apologies for that. But basically I just cut around the core just like I do an avocado. Now if they're a little bit riper, sometimes they do kind of squish down and lose some of the juice, but that's the best way I know to get the pits out of them. And then I just go ahead and wedge them up. I didn't want to cut them too small because, like I said, they were super ripe and juicy, and I didn't want it to turn into mush. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in the bowl, and then I'll add my washed up blueberries and just give that a quick stir. And we had 0 leftovers from this. I'm telling you, if you can get your hands on some of these yellow nectarines right now, they are so good. Next up, I'm going to prep my scrambled eggs. So for 4 of us, I went ahead and used 10 eggs. Normally I try to do 2 or 3 eggs per person. Sometimes I don't mind if I have leftovers, especially when I'm making a meal like this, because I can put some of the hash brown casserole with some of the leftover scrambled eggs and some bacon into some meal prep containers, and we can have those for breakfasts during the week. So to my eggs, I'm actually going to add some sour cream. This helps make your scrambled eggs super fluffy and creamy. I'm also going to add some pepper and some salt. One thing I do also love to add to my eggs in place of sour cream is creme fraiche. That is very hard for me to find. I live in the rural Midwest, and some of these ingredients I just can't find around here. So I have found that sour cream does just as good of a job, and just whisk that until it's combined. Here is my hash brown casserole out of the oven. You can see that it's sizzling and delicious. You do want to let this sit for probably about 15 minutes before you dig into it, just to let it set. For my pancakes, I do like to make homemade pancakes with buttermilk, but tonight I went ahead and went for convenience because it was a weeknight. I had this packet of Birch Bender's complete pancake mix in the pantry, which just calls for you to whisk it with some water, and these actually turned out really good. A lot of times what I will do with the pre-packaged pancake mixes is I will add a little bit of vanilla extract to them just to kind of heighten the flavor and make them taste a little bit better, and those make them taste a little bit more like homemade. But honestly, my kids don't care. They love pancakes anyway I give them to them. You can see this bacon is almost done. It really depends on how you like it cooked, but make sure to keep an eye on it at the very end, because like I said, it can go to burnt very quick. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and heat my skillet for my pancakes. So I am the odd one, and I really actually like to make my pancakes in a skillet. I just feel like I can control the heat much better that way. Pancakes were something that honestly took me a long time to perfect once I moved out on my own and started cooking in my own apartment. My stovetop does have a griddle pan that I can fit more pancakes on if I want to, but honestly, like I said, I like making them in a skillet better. I know not as many of them fit in there, but I can control the heat better, and to me it's just easier, and it's easier cleanup as well. So this first batch didn't get very brown on one side, but I obviously improved as I kept going along, as I often do with pancakes. And then what I normally do is just keep them covered in a warm oven until we are ready to eat, and they stay warm just fine. The bacon's done, so I'm going to go ahead and take some paper towels and just lay them on top of the bacon to soak up some of that excess grease, and that and the hash brown casserole will go ahead and sit until we are ready to eat. For the eggs, I am heating a skillet on medium-low heat with a little bit of butter. Once that's a little bit warm, I pour the eggs in, and the key is just to scramble these very slowly over medium-low heat. You don't want to rush it, or it can make the scrambled eggs very tough and dry. Like I said, medium-low heat, and just keep stirring. You can see kind of how it comes together here. If you do have any kind of stray pieces of the sour cream that did not incorporate into the eggs, no worries, it will definitely melt in as you cook them on the stove. And at this point, you could also add some shredded cheese if you wanted to, but these turn out really good. At this point, when they look like this, I go ahead and turn the skillet off and just let the warmth of the pan continue to cook them the rest of the way. I also think these would be super good with some chives sprinkled on top or some salsa if you were just cooking eggs. So this is what we had for our super simple supper on this night. The Cracker Barrel Copycat Hash Brown Casserole. I will leave that recipe down below. You guys definitely need to try that. The pancakes on the side, which I can't cut with one hand because I'm holding my camera. And then the perfectly cooked bacon and eggs. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and got an idea for a simple dinner. Let me know what you want to see me cook for dinner next, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.